Guys, it's Braxton. Before free agency kicks off in a couple days, I just wanted to put together a quick video on some guys returning from injury that your league mates in your Dynasty leagues may have forgotten about, and I think they could really make for some really sneaky pickups. Or some really interesting trade targets. So first off, just kicking this off, it's going to be Sadiq Bay. We saw him come over in that Jordan Poole, with Jordan Poole, I should say, in exchange for CJ McCollum and Kelly Olynyk. They drafted Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen, but I think that mainly hurts Carlo Matkovic as well as somebody like Brandon Boston. There's minutes open in general with Kelly Olynyk leaving. And to me, it's possible that Bay slots right into that 20-minute role, especially at the very least until DeJounte Murray is back and healthy. Bay has another 2 years left in that contract. He signed with Washington last year, so the Pels do have some incentive to play him. And he should be fully healthy coming in this next season. He actually was going to play the last game of this past season, and then just before tip-off, he had been ruled out. So it seems like he's fully ready to go for this offseason. Looking at some of his stats, and obviously he missed the entire season. The last time he played a full season was on that Hawks team where he played 32 minutes per game. I'm not sure that's something he's going to get on this Pelicans team, but I don't think he's going to play that much, like I said. But I do think he's legitimately good. And he's only on that low contract because he signed it while he was injured. And if you remember, he turned down that $50 million deal to bet on himself right before tearing that ACL. But in terms of his skill set, he's not going to do much besides score and shoot threes. But he is averaging, or he did, I should say, average 6.5 boards per game the last time he was healthy. So, I guess the idea is that he's almost free right now in most leagues, and I think the best time to grab him is before those games start, because if he's playing 24 minutes per night on opening night, it'll cause your league mates to remember he exists, which is kind of the theming of this video, right? And the last time he was healthy, he finished 151 in 9 category leagues. Not great, right? But this is more of a counting stats guy. The turnovers aren't going to kill you. It's kind of what you're hoping Cam Whitmore is going to be, and I don't think Cam Whitmore is very good at all. So if you're looking for like a budget version of that, I think Bay fits it really well. On top of that, he has some additional upside if the Pelicans are terrible once again, which feels somewhat likely. In a Trey Murphy trade that has been rumored could open up even more shots for him depending on who comes back. So moving on to our next guy here, it's going to be Grant Williams. So, another guy that's returning from an ACL injury. It's unclear if he's going to be healthy at the beginning of the season. But when he is, I think there's some legitimate upside here as a potential small ball 5, or at the very least, just in general, with Charlotte now having likely the worst front court in the entire league. I've made it very clear how much I love Moussa Diabate, but Grant Williams played a legitimate role for this Hornets team in those first 16 games of the year last year. He averaged 30 minutes per game, shot 44% from the field, 84 from the line. But what I really like is his counting stats, right? So 1.7 threes, okay, that's fine. 10 points, 5 boards, 2.3 assists, but here's the interesting part. He averaged 1.1 steals per game as well as 0.8 blocks per game. He's almost a 1-1-1 guy. This isn't the biggest role in his career in terms of minutes, and it's a little bit outside of his career norms to be averaging that many steals and blocks. It remains to be seen if that's something he can maintain over the course of a season, but I'm thinking more in terms of the role he was playing. So like in Dallas and in Boston, for example, as you can see on the graphic on the screen, he played similar amount of minutes, but he was seeing way less touches. He was way less involved on offense because, just to be frank, those were better teams, and on a terrible team like Charlotte, Grant is going to have the ball in his hands quite a bit, just because it seems like they really need to have some vets that are, there, I guess, just for lack of a better way to say it, have a veteran presence. I'm not necessarily expecting a boost in these numbers as a result of that Mark Williams departure, because if you can remember, Mark actually missed those first 20 games of the year last year, so there was no crossover there between them to begin last year. And I know they grabbed Kalkbrenner, but I'm anticipating more of a headache of a 3-man center rotation as opposed to them legitimately trying to move Diabate to the 4 spot like they tinkered around with a bit last season. I'm chalking that more up to them making a distinct effort to keep Diabate on the floor and not necessarily something that they were looking at long term. I'm expecting, sadly, the Hornets to be bad once again. But they've shown they showed last year under Charles Lee, they're not just going to sit their vets. They seem to be bad organically as opposed to resting anybody over a certain age after a certain point of the season. A lineup of LaMelo, Miller, Bridges, Williams, and then probably Nurkic is my guess coming into the season. That's assuming if Grant Williams is willing to go, with Knipple and Diabate coming off the bench, and Williams will have the opportunity to repeat his success last year. So definitely liking him as a buy in Dynasty leagues right now, or like I said, as a pickup depending on what size league you're in. Definitely somebody I'm targeting right now, especially for that 1-1-1 potential. Anybody who can do that, I think, is worth a roster spot, and if he can get there and repeat that success, you're going to be happy with his production. So. Moving on to our last guy here, just a quick video here. It's going to be DeAnthony Melton. DeAnthony Melton, to me, seems like a lock to sign a contract with a contender that has no money and then, be thrust into a 24 to 26 minute per game role. Obviously, health depending. He's 2 years removed from his last fully healthy season in 22 and 23. With the Sixers, but in that season we saw him put up some really nice numbers with 2 threes a game, 2.6 assists, 1.6 steals, which is the main part, and then only 1.3 turnovers per game, right? So I see that the free throw is a little bit concerning in that low sample size with Golden State, but I would just chalk that up to that being only 6 games. You can see in his previous seasons shooting 83 and 79 from the field, so I would factor that in a little bit more. And then in 23 and 24, we saw him just kind of building off of that 22-23 season. We saw him do much of the same before he went down with that back injury, again averaging 1.6 steals per game. 2 threes, around the same in points and boards as well. And the turnovers actually came down slightly to 1 per game. But that back injury was something that was really concerning coming into last year. It seemed like he was ready to go, and then he tore his ACL, unfortunately. But because of that long layoff period, it's possible that he's on your league waiver wire, depending on the league size. I really like Melton in any build with his ability to contribute anywhere, as well as his really low turnover, so he's not harming you. I'm not thinking too hard about that field goal percentage. I think the rest kind of cancels it out in terms of the areas of upside that he brings. And he's hovered around the top 100 in those 2 seasons I mentioned, 110 and 111, I believe. And he's been super consistent on the floor, illustrated by his stats almost identical 3 seasons in a row, right? I don't have a ton of super in-depth analysis on him here because, a lot of this is depending on his landing spot. But the problem with waiting on that is once he signs with somebody, let's say it's with the Lakers or something, and just fully takes over Gabe Vincent's role, his name is going to pop back up into your league mates' heads. And he'll be scooped if he's available, or he'll have to take, or have a little bit of an increase in value, I should say, in a trade. I think it would be wise to take advantage of the rookie fever that's kind of in full swing right now, and toss out a couple offers where you send out maybe a super late draft pick or 2, and see if you get any bites. He's somebody that can win you a matchup with steals, and it's not very often you're able to run into a player like that at as significant of a discount as you should be able to get him at. So. Real quick before I wrap up, I just want to mention in the description, we got our website where we house our Dynasty rankings. Just uploaded a top 300 update about a week ago, so please feel free to check those out, and we would love your feedback on them. In addition to that, we have our rookie rankings, our rookie big board, articles, anything we do goes on that website. Also, has our Discord in the description. We're super active, and there's tons of fantasy discussion going on in there from both us, but also, the 200 plus other people in there. Additionally, we just recently launched a Patreon where we're releasing a bunch of bonus content. Nothing about what we're doing now is changing. This is all brand new stuff. So if you like that and want to support us, please feel free to check that out. And additionally, I just want to highlight on YouTube here, we're on the road to 500 subscribers. Just want to thank everyone who tunes into our stuff, and it really means a lot. And, if you find it useful, please share it with a friend, because that means so much to us, and it really helps us out. But with that, that's all for today, and thanks so much for watching. Bye, guys.